Welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson and giving an update on his situation from the last time that we had talked about Lamar Jackson. Now, obviously, on draft day, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens had verbally agreed on a 5-year extension for $260 million. That's an annual value of $52 million. That deal was officially signed on May 4th. Now, this was an extension that should have happened long ago, should have never gotten to the point that it got to, but Lamar, representing himself, that's an important piece, was representing himself, got the highest paid contract of any NFL player of all time. And it keeps him with the Ravens through 2027. Now, in the process of becoming the highest paid player in NFL history, he was also able to negotiate a no trade clause and a no tag clause. And for everything everybody wanted to say about Lamar Jackson representing himself, he's going to doom himself in the end. There was so much slander put on Lamar Jackson's name just for him to ultimately come out and get the last laugh, which as somebody, I've always been somebody who really liked Lamar Jackson. The Ravens have always been my second favorite team. I'm a diehard Colts fan, but I was always a really big Ray Lewis fan. So I've always liked the Ravens. And I've always been behind Lamar, thought he was better than everybody tries to say that he is, talking about running back and that whole thing. Lamar Jackson, for what he's put into it and what he's been paid, like Lamar Jackson deserves the contract that he negotiated himself. That is such an important piece of this. So being the highest paid player in NFL history, what is really guaranteed? He was able to get 112.5 million guaranteed at signing, which is all the money that he has coming in the first 2 years of his contract. After the first 2 years of his contract, their option and injury guarantees start to kick in for a total value of 185 million. So it brings that 112 up to 185 through the next couple years of his contract. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like a lawyer and act like I read through the whole thing. I vaguely know what some of the injury options, like if he's injured, like he's guaranteed a certain amount if he's on the roster. There are other incentives that are plugged in, just being on the roster by a certain date, he gets a certain value that kicks in from year to year. And there's a double option. Again, not going to sit here and act like a lawyer. I didn't read into it. I know it's one of the more complicated options that you can have, but something along the lines of, if he's on the roster by a certain date, 1 year, then then he gets money guaranteed for next year already. Something along those lines. Again, can't sit here and act like I know all the different intricacies of an NFL contract. But overall, he has $185 million in guarantees of the $260 million contract. And to start that contract, his cash value in 2023 is a ridiculous $80 million. Like he will get from the Ravens $80 million in the 2023 season. Now, for all the big numbers being thrown around in Lamar's contract, his cap numbers, and because of the way these contracts in the NFL are set up, especially for quarterbacks, the first few years, it's actually quite team friendly as compared to the $45 to $50 million cap hits from the other top level quarterbacks in the NFL. In 2023, his cap hit is $22 million. That number goes up to $33 million in 2024. And then after that, Lamar starts to enter the realm of the other top quarterbacks in the NFL with a $43.5 million cap hit in 2025. Now, if you look beyond that in the 2026 and 2027 season, that cap hit skyrockets to $74.5. Now, at that point, the NFL salary cap is going to rise a decent bit also, but still that's almost $30 million that it's going up. So at some point they're going to have to figure out how to kick the can down the road. There are 2 voided years on the back of this contract, which presumably they'll kick down the road, which will in turn keep Lamar in Baltimore until 2028 or 2029, again, because he has a no trade clause, no tag clause. So if they push some of that money down the road, then they can keep him there. He can still get that money, and he can get more value of that 260. So overall, like early on in this contract, that'll be the time that the Ravens are going to want to go and try to spend all their money and win to get a Super Bowl, right? Like when you talk about them picks, that's what the next couple years are for the Ravens. You know, they were able to get Zay Flowers in the 2023 draft. They were able to sign Odell Beckham Jr. They already have Rashad Bateman there. They have Mark Andrews. They can really build around Lamar Jackson through free agency and build through the draft as some of these other top level teams are doing. And I think that's probably what their strategy is for 23, 24, and 25. Now, the good thing for the Ravens is that after Lamar signed the deal, he told media that it was important to him that he finished what he started. Now, if you remember when he got drafted, he said, they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. And he expects to keep that promise. So he has the hunger to bring them a Super Bowl. And the time is right now. Between now and the 2025 season is their window to do that before the insane amount of money that is going to be charged on the cap for Lamar Jackson. So if you ask me, do I think it's worth it? Yes, I think Lamar is worth the money. I think everything I've said before this, you can probably tell, yes, I think Lamar is worth the contract. I think having the 2 voided years on the end when his 2026 and 2027 cap hit are so large was a good idea. You can figure that out, push some money into the future, and then figure it out later, right? So then you go and talk about how did they help Lamar be able to be successful. You know, the GM, Eric DaCosta, he came out and said, like, in years past, he's vigilant of the fact that they did not do enough to help Lamar be successful. And I think that they've been able to do that this offseason. Lamar still has J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards in the backfield. He now, in addition to Mark Andrews, who he's had to throw the ball to, he now has Odell Beckham Jr., who signed a 1-year contract for, I believe it was $15 million, but can be worth up to $18 million. You know, large contract for Odell Beckham Jr. But coming back off an ACL surgery, in which he has said, Odell Beckham Jr. has in the past said that his first surgery wasn't good enough. He was basically playing with the Rams the entire time on a torn ligament. But then, you know, got to the point in the Super Bowl where it was completely torn and he had to have a complete, you know, the ACL completely redone. But the second one was done by a different doctor and it was done correctly. And coming back this time should be good to go in the future. You know, in 2023, ACL surgeries aren't what they were in the past. It is believed that he should be good to go in the future. And he's a superstar. Last time we saw him, like, could have been Super Bowl MVP if he doesn't get hurt. Like, he is that goddamn good. And then they went out and drafted Zay Flowers. Kind of already mentioned that. Getting Zay Flowers is going to be huge. He's going to be a playmaker for them pretty much immediately. You know, just like any rookie wide receiver, you would expect some growing pains at times. But he's a guy that coming in by the end of the season, going to be an important piece of this offense for them and what they're able to do as a vertical threat and really an all-around playmaker. You know, I really like Zay Flowers. I think he can make a pretty immediate impact for the Ravens. And you pair these two with Rashad Bateman and the aforementioned Mark Andrews, the sky is the limit for Lamar. Like 6,000 yards is a lot. You know what I mean? Like nobody has really even gotten close to that. You know, I don't know if an extra game is going to help Lamar get to that, especially with the rushing attack. You know, Lamar runs the ball. And again, they have Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins there. So will he ever get to 6,000 yards? It's going to be really hard to do. There have been some really good quarterbacks that never made it to 6,000. But what I do think is realistic is that this offense is going to be extremely dangerous. And at this point, this year in 2023, there are no excuses for Lamar and co. Like they should be competing with the top echelon teams, not only in the AFC, but the NFL. So you guys know what I think about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens for 2023. I would love to know what you think about Lamar Jackson. Do you think it was worth it? Do you think he's worth the money he's getting paid? And what does it mean for the Ravens? You let me know down in the comments and let's talk about it. Don't forget to keep coming back every day for more off-season content. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you for the next video.